3 spine-chilling true stories of cursed janitors, sinister secrets exposed in haunted places. Linda took a deep breath as she stood at the rusty doors of Crestwood Academy. The place had a reputation, and she felt every taunting whisper of it as she stepped inside. Shadows danced along the peeling walls, a silent acknowledgement of the history that coursed through the empty halls. Once a bustling hub of learning, it now felt like a tomb. An oppressive air settled in, causing her heart to race. As a single mother with 2 kids to feed, she had no choice but to take this grueling night job as a janitor. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't alone. The fluorescent lights flickered ominously above, casting ghostly shapes on the floor. She could almost hear the laughter of children echoing off the walls, but that laughter turned sour in her gut. An uneasy sensation slinked up her spine. Was someone watching her? A chill swept through the air, making her skin prickle. Linda forced herself to focus, pushing the dread aside as she grabbed the mop and bucket. One sweeping glance down the hallway, and she saw something flicker at the edge of her vision. Just a trick of the light, she told herself, or was it? The days turned into nights filled with gripping terror. Each grin from the past was tainted with whispers. Linda. They called from forsaken classrooms like an echo of a memory long buried. And that feeling of being watched intensified, wrapping around her like a noose. Her kids, Emma and Jake, were terrified for her, begging her not to return. It's just superstition, she told them, brushing off their anxious faces. These are just scary stories. But then one night changed everything. While cleaning an old art room, she discovered a faded journal wedged beneath the rotting floorboards. Her hands shook as she flipped through its pages. The former janitor's scrawl hinted at sinister truths. Children vanished without a trace, a malevolent spirit lurking within the school's very bones. Her breath quickened, realization washing over her that the light-hearted stories had roots in grim tales. She had to know more, yet fear clung to her like a second skin. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The gymnasium's vastness felt stifling on the chill of that night. As she pushed the mop across the wooden floor, laughter erupted. The sound echoed, clanging against her ears like a discordant bell tolling doom. It was children's laughter. But there were no children here. Panic shot through her veins. A fleeting glimpse of a small figure darted past the child. She turned, heart racing, but all that met her gaze were shadows. The whispers swirled around her, morphing into a deafening cacophony, tugging at her resolve. She stumbled back, the mop slipping from her grip. The lights flickered, casting erratic patterns that danced like frantic spirits. Breathless, she backed away until her back hit the wall. The door suddenly slammed shut. The sound echoed throughout the gym, reverberating in her bones. The chilling voice from before now cried out her name, louder, more demanding, filled with a dark hunger. At that moment, Linda realized this wasn't just about her job. This was a fight for her family's safety. Who would pay the price, her or her children? The weight of the past pressed against her, dark and heavy, as the creeping fear settled deeply in her stomach. She was ensnared in a web of darkness, and she had to confront it, or it would consume her whole. Would she be the next victim lost to the shadows of Crestwood Academy? The room felt like a pressure cooker, the air thick and oppressive. Linda's heart hammered in her chest as the door loomed behind her, a forbidden threshold swollen with the weight of unseen forces. The laughter echoed again, sharper this time, slicing through her thoughts like a razor. Linda, the voice was close, too close. She couldn't tell if it was her imagination or something real, but it rattled her to the core. She clenched her fists, fighting down rising panic. Shivering, she searched the room for something, anything, to defend herself. The mop lay discarded, useless. Her eyes darted to the nearest window. Would she be able to break it and escape? Before she could make a move, a cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the flickering lights. Darkness closed in, wrapping around her like a shroud. "Stop!" she yelled, her voice cracking. She had to assert herself, had to show whatever was haunting her that she wasn't going to be a victim. For a fleeting moment, silence enveloped the gym, heavy and denying. But just as her breath steadied, the laughter erupted once more. This time it was a cacophony, swirling around her, mocking her bravery, her doubts. "Why are you here?" she whispered into the void. A chill ran down her spine, as if the darkness paused to consider her question. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the laughter stopped, plunging the room into an eerie silence that felt like prelude to a storm. With hesitation, she took a step forward. The floor creaked underfoot, a porcelain mask hiding the darkness below. Gritting her teeth, she approached the gym door, hands trembling as she reached for the handle. Would it open? As she twisted the knob, a frigid air rushed past her, a ghostly sigh of relief from the other side. The door swung open of its own accord, and there stood the hallway, a sepulchre of shadows. She should have felt fear, but instead, an odd compulsion pulled at her, a need to know what waited beyond the veil of darkness. Cautiously, she crossed the threshold. The whispering began again, more insistent now, drawing her toward a classroom at the far end of the hallway. Each step felt like a leap of faith, a dance with danger. She pressed against the walls, her fingers brushing against the peeling paint, which felt almost alive, pulsating with trapped memories, stories begging to be told. Reaching the door, Linda hesitated. It stood ajar, creaking as if urging her to enter. "Do I really want to know?" she murmured to herself, the weight of her children's anxious faces flashing in her mind. Still, she pushed it open, a small crack that revealed the room bathed in darkness, except for the faint glow of the moon filtering through grime-covered windows. What she saw made her blood run cold. Inside, the walls were covered with strange drawings, scrawled images of children, their faces distorted with horror and despair. Desperate scrawls hinted at the tales of torment that had transpired within the very room she stood, the ominous echoes of their last moments trapped in this forsaken place. She staggered back, the urgency of her heart racing anew. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was a battle for truth against the hidden darkness that threatened to consume everything she loved. Suddenly, she heard a knock, soft at first, but then rising in intensity. It was coming from behind her, from the gym. The haunting urgency of that noise wasn't merely a call, it beckoned her, demanding. Linda turned slowly, expecting something sinister, a dark entity emerging. But what she saw made her gasp. Standing at the doorway was a child, their features obscured by shadows, but she could feel their pleading gaze piercing through the gloom. They needed her help, but help from whom? As fear twisted in her gut, the child whispered, "You have to make a choice, before the sun rises." Would she trust this figure? Were they a savior or a specter leading her deeper into the abyss? Linda's breath itched as she felt the child's gaze press against her. A mixture of fear and sympathy welled up inside her, battling within her chest. "Please," the child's voice trembled, a soft echo that sent shivers down Linda's spine. "You have to listen. They won't let you leave until you decide." The room around her felt more alive, and she could sense the walls closing in, whispering words she couldn't understand. She was trapped. "I must know what this means," she thought desperately. "What choice? What do you want me to do?" The child stepped forward, revealing more of their features. A tangle of dark hair framed a pale face, eyes wide with something like urgency. "You have to choose to stay or to help them." The words sank deep, curling around her mind. Who was she helping? The child? The tortured souls imprinted on the walls? Her thoughts spiraled in a tangled knot of confusion and dread. As she mulled over the implications, a shift in the atmosphere rattled her violent thoughts. The gym door slammed shut unexpectedly, forcing her back against the classroom wall. Panic surged again. The child didn't seem alarmed, though. They remained still, watching her with a serene terror that chilled her soul. "Listen closely, Linda. You have to face what's hidden or you'll become part of it," the child said with a tremor of inevitability. The shadows around them seemed to breathe, pulsating with life as if beckoning her to step closer, to listen. "What has hidden?" she demanded, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. "Who do I help?" A wise smile flickered briefly on the child's lips, betraying a hint of knowing that sent a chill racing through Linda. "You must find the truth. Their names say their names, and they can rest or they will trap you here forever." The whispering grew louder, a thrumming pulse thrumming beneath her skin. Was it the voices begging for support, or was it warnings? A hollow laugh rang through the air, a familiar echo that twisted her stomach. Linda understood then. This was her reality, the ties to her world and this one intertwining inescapably. "I can't!" she shouted in frustration, stepping back as memories of her own children danced on the edges of her mind. The warmth of their laughter, the safety of their smiles, could she risk it all for these lost souls? "The choice is not yours to make alone," the child insisted, their voice now an urgent, trembling whisper. "You must trust your heart, or face the darkness swallowing you whole." An icicle of terror pierced her heart. Every second felt like a countdown against an unseen clock, pushing her toward an unknown and terrifying reality. "What if I can't? What if I don't?" The room shuddered as though holding its breath, suspended in anxiety with her. The child stepped closer, their voice now a tiny flicker against the vast silence. "Then the laughter will be your own." The shadows surrounded her, thickening like storm clouds on the horizon. She could feel the weight of the moment, like the final breath before an inevitable plunge into the depths. With the dawn approaching, surrendering to darkness felt like an alluring option. But before she could decide, a loud crash echoed from the gym, followed by the sounds of scuffling feet and muffled whispers. The air thickened with dread as something shifted in the shadows. "Go!" the child urged, their eyes wide with panic. "You have to protect them before it's too late." Fear and instinct clashed as a new urgency pulsed through her. What was happening? What had she stirred by merely stepping through the threshold? With adrenaline fueling her thoughts, she dashed toward the door, but the child's plea tethered her. "Say their names, Linda. Remember who they were." She hesitated, her hand hovering over the doorknob, grasping the weight of choice hanging heavy in the air. Who were they? Why did it matter? Then came a voice, another echo far more familiar and horrifying than she was ready to confront. "Mom? Help me!" Linda's heart plummeted, driven by the force of love and terror. It was her own child's voice. "Jessie!" The shadows stirred again, writhing with an unseen hunger, and she knew she had to rescue her before it was truly too late. Would she step into the darkness knowing her other children might follow? The terror was mounting, time was running out. The child nodded, their expression mixed with fear and hope. "Make your choice, Linda," but now, the question lingered in the air. How far would she go to save one, and would it doom the others? Linda pushed the door open, heart racing. The gym loomed before her like a beast waiting to pounce. Shadows flitted just beyond the reach of the flickering fluorescent lights, their chaotic movements hinting at the chaos inside. She hesitated, the echoes of her child's plea clawing at her sanity. "Jessie!" she screamed. "Where are you?" Silence pressed against her ears like a thick fog, stealing her breath. She stepped inside, bracing herself against the dread that wrapped around her like vines. The air was unnaturally cold, causing her to shiver, and the metallic scent of something acrid filled her nostrils. Then she spotted it. A figure in the far corner of the gym, a small silhouette huddled against the wall with arms wrapped around their knees. Linen curtains fluttered like ghostly wings, casting eerie shadows that danced around her. "Jessie?" Linda's voice came out as a desperate whisper as she approached, her steps faltering. The figure didn't respond. Instead, shadows gathered tighter, and the cries of lost children echoed around her, a cacophony of anguish that spun her head. Each wail felt like a cold blade slicing into her heart. "Stay away, please! It's not safe!" Jessie's voice finally broke through, trembling like leaves in a storm. "Not safe?" The words slipped past Linda's lips as if dipped in ice. "What do you mean?" "I'm here to help you." "Mom!" Jessie cried. "You shouldn't have come. They'll take you too." Before she could process the warning, the light flickered ominously, and a rush of wind burst through the gym, pushing her back. The laughter, dark and cruel, echoed in her ears, seeping into her bones. It was that familiar laughter again, the kind that held an unsettling familiarity, a spectral taunt that set her skin crawling. Linda felt a cold chill crawl down her spine as the shadows gathered, morphing into grotesque shapes that seemed to breathe. She turned back towards Jessie, who had somehow grown more shadowed, more transitory. "What is happening? Jessie! Please! Say their names!" The urgency punctured through the thick air like a scream. "Say their names, and they will let you go." "Whose names? The children?" "I can't, Mom, you have to remember." Jessie sobbed, the shadows flickering as if revealing glimpses of something terrifying just beyond the veil. "Or they won't let you leave." Each shapeless mass encroaching on the gym felt like despair clawing at her. It was drawing her closer to a truth she dreaded. "Jessie!" she cried, panic squeezing her heart. "Tell me. Who do I need to say?" Suddenly, all at once, memories cascaded through her mind, names she had forgotten, faces she didn't want to remember, the friends Jessie used to play with, the laughter that used to fill their lives. Fear twisted her heart as phrases danced at the edges of her memory, only to vanish like smoke. The heavy breathing of shadows felt deafening. One shadow caught her eye, a sinister outline taking shape, almost human, with eyes that glowed a haunting green. Linda gasped, staggering back. "Say their names!" The figure hissed, its voice a seductive whisper woven with menace. Linda's mind raced. Could she risk her memory, the joy of her children, for these lost souls? Panic clawed its way to the surface, suffocating her thoughts. "Jessie, please, Mom. Say their names." Jessie's plea mingled with other voices, a choir of desperation rising around her. Without thinking, Linda blurted, "Emma. Lucas. Sarah. I remember you." At once the shadows recoiled, jerking back as if scalded. The gym shuddered violently, and the laughter turned to screams of anger and grief. But then, Linda felt the weight of darkness tightening around her, pinning her in place. The voices surged, many now chanting, twisting together to create a harrowing symphony that echoed like thunder. As the floor rumbled, she looked at Jessie, whose form was growing faint, her worries mixing with the shadows in a terrifying dance. "No! Jess! Say their names! Before it's too late!" The shadows howled, and the temperature plummeted until she could see her breath in the frigid air. Panic tightened its grip around her throat. With urgency bubbling over, she yelled, "Ava! Daniel! Mark! I remember you too!" But the shadows didn't relent. They surged forth, howling and clawing, and just as Linda was engulfed by the encroaching wave, a chilling realization struck her. "Wait! I have to remember one more." Time blurred as panic and desperation washed over her. Could she recall the last name? Would that seal her fate? Would she be trapped here forever? The room spun violently as the shadows clawed hungrily. Did she truly have what it took to face the depths of darkness? What other names lay hidden, waiting to be spoken? The shadows howled, swirling around Linda like a storm of despair. Her heart raced, each beat pounding louder than the last as she fought against the weight pressing down on her. She could hardly breathe, the frigid air suffocating, each icy gust bringing a cacophony of whispers, lost voices rising from the abyss. "Jessie!" she cried, desperation bubbling over. "I'm trying. I just need one more name." The room twisted, a nightmarish landscape of figures morphing and melting away. Linda's thoughts raced, but clarity evaded her like smoke. The shadows seemed to pulse around her, taunting, beckoning her closer to their terrifying secrets. Then, amidst the chaos, a flicker of light broke through the dark. A glowing figure emerged, feeble yet radiant. It was one of the lost children, a glimpse of innocence wrenched from the gloom. "Say my name!" the figure whispered, its voice like wind through a hollow tree. "Say my name, or we'll be lost forever." The urgency in its voice sent Linda reeling. Who are you?" "I was forgotten." "I was," the figure shimmered, caught between worlds. "I was Lily." You have to remember me. Lily's name trembled on Linda's lips, weaving with the echoes of laughter that used to fill her home. But a deep instinct warned her. Could saying this name doom them both to the shadows? Linda! Jessie's frightened voice broke through again, stronger this time. You have to trust the memories. Say it. Just say it. Linda took a deep breath. Lily! I remember you. As the name spilled from her mouth, an agonizing wail erupted. The shadows recoiled violently, revealing a horrid dance of twisted faces and anguished screams. Linda stumbled back, heart racing as the very ground beneath her quaked. The gym was alive, thrumming with chaotic energy. Shadows jerked and swirled, breaking into fragments. Jessie's form flickered, fear blending with hope in her wide eyes. You did it, Mom! They're weakening. But within the tumultuous chaos, the air grew thick with deathly silence. A sense of foreboding descended like a thick shroud, wrapping around Linda with a chilling grip. Lily! A low voice rasped, dripping with fury. You dare speak her name? You will pay! An enormous shadow materialized, looming like an omnipotent creature, features indistinguishable but radiating malice. It glared at Linda with eyes that burned like the sun's dying ember. You shouldn't have invoked the lost! It bellowed, its voice rumbling through her bones. The gym doors slammed shut, rattling the frame. Linda turned, cold sweat beading on her forehead. Jessie! We need to get out of here. There's nowhere to go. Jessie's terror escalated as shadows writhed, closing in. We must confront it. Finish what you started. The realization pierced through Linda like a dagger. She had a choice to make. How many more names remained hidden in the depths of her memory? The atmosphere pulsed with menace, the shadows waiting, hungry, demanding more. Say their name! They echoed in unison, their voices clawing at her sanity. Could she dare to dive deeper into her past? Could she risk losing herself, or worse, her daughter, in the process? Please, Mom! Jessie pleaded, eyes glimmering with unshed tears. You can save us both. With trembling lips, Linda took a step forward, drawing strength from within. I'll remember. I must remember. But the shadow loom grew furious, eyes glowing brighter against the tide of fear rising within her. As she closed her eyes, a memory surged unbidden to the surface, a flash of a face, a name teetering on the edge of recognition. Would it be enough? Would this last name open the door to freedom or seal their fates forever? Just as she felt the bond between her and Jessie stretch taut, a bone-chilling voice whispered from the darkness. There's still one name you've left unsaid. Her heart dropped as darkness surged around her. Could she possibly face the truth lurking in the depths? Linda's heart thundered, a relentless drum of fear as the shadows writhed around her. Panic clawed at her throat, tightening its grip like a vice. Jessie was right there, inches from her, but the shadows were louder, roaring their demands. Say their name! The voice echoed, twisted and guttural. It seemed to come from everywhere, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. Linda clenched her fists, memories flaring. Faces, laughter, tears all lost to time, buried beneath layers of grief and remorse. She had to dig deep. What was your name? She murmured, barely audible above the tempest, searching her mind for a spark of recognition. The monstrous shadow hovered, its breath cold and foul. You'll find no comfort in the past, it jeered, voice oozing malice. They're gone, just like the rest. No! Linda shouted, defiant and trembling. I won't let you take her. Jessie reached out, her small hand wrapping around Linda's. Mom! Remember the birthdays, the games. You must dig deeper. The shadows recoiled at her words, as if Jessie's innocent faith held power. Linda's mind raced. This was not just her battle, but a fight for Jessie too. The memories surged forward like water breaking a dam. Rachel! That was your name! Linda exclaimed, her voice cutting through the chaos, slicing through the darkness like a lifeline thrown into murky waters. The wail that erupted was deafening. The huge shadow undulated, twisting in agony as if Rachel's name struck a vital nerve. Faces pressed against the shadowy walls of the gym, writhing in pain and desperation. Gleamed expressions of longing reflected back, but then the figures morphed into snarling beasts, angry, lost, and pleading. "Fool!" The voice snarled, the fury a tempest in the room. "You think you can save them? More names will not save you, it will doom you. Speak the final name, and you will face the truth you dread." Linda's breath came in sharp gasps. She realized the looming figure spoke of the one name she had buried deepest. The name that held the most power over her, the name that had cost her everything. "Please, Mom." Jessie shook her head, desperate. "You have to say it. We can't hold on much longer." Could she really? The shadows swirled, a living entity, waiting hungrily. Was she ready to face the darkest part of her past? The specter of regret that lurked in the corners of her mind? "Don't you understand?" The shadow hissed, eyes blazing with hunger. "Your memory is your curse. You think you can conquer the dark, but it will consume you whole." A deafening silence momentarily fell, a tension so thick it felt like a knife. The air shimmered, and for a moment, Linda could see Lily, Rachel, their faces pleading, their eyes full of a yearning that pierced her soul. Trembling, she closed her eyes again, clawing her way through the fog of sorrow. Light flickered through her thoughts. "David!" she whispered, the name slipping past her lips, trembling with uncertainty and terror. As it landed in the air, darkness erupted with such force it felt like a physical blow. The walls shuddered, cries of anguish wailing louder than any storm. Linda grabbed Jessie, pulling her close. If saying David's name was the key, it would either save them or bring them to ruin. She had to be ready for whatever lay beyond this reckoning. Silence fell again, but this one felt different, a silence charged with anticipation. "Do you dare?" the shadow hissed. "To unveil the truth? What lies beneath?" With Jessie clinging tightly, Linda's heart raced. Was she ready to break through the veils of torment? Would the name reveal the final truth, or would it unleash another horror yet unseen? As darkness closed in, she knew there was no turning back. They were at the edge of oblivion. Would she finally confront the darkness, or would it consume them both? The air thickened around them, a suffocating weight pressing down. Linda's heartbeat resonated in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the shadows. She could feel Jessie's small fingers trembling in hers, a lifeline in a void of despair. "Mom, please!" Jessie's voice was a soft plea, both tender and fierce. "Don't leave me!" "Say it again!" The darkness pulsed, alive and animated, thrumming with a terrible energy. Linda felt the shadows wrapping tighter around them, tendrils creeping along her skin, icy and invasive. She needed to focus. "Think, David," she said, more firmly this time. "David! I'm here! I'm ready!" A sickening silence enveloped them, heavier than before. The shadows gave an agonized howl, thrashing like a caught animal, the figure contorting in ways that defied nature. Linda's breath quickened. There was no escaping the repercussions. "Is this it?" the shadow croaked, its voice trembling with rage and despair. "Have you unveiled the truth? Have you forgotten the pain?" As the shadow twisted and writhed, Linda felt memories pounding at her, images born from love and loss. Memories that taunted and provoked her, clawing their way to the surface. She felt the weight of the guilt crawling over her skin. "David!" she shouted now, louder and more determined. "You took him from me. You took my family. I will face you for my daughter." The shadow paused, a moment of eerie stillness, then released a bone-chilling laugh that echoed throughout the gym like a thunderclap. "You think you hold the power? Your anger is nothing but a flicker in the night. Do you know what you are unleashing?" The ground began to quake beneath them, the walls shaking as if the very foundations of reality were breaking apart. The shadow expanded, stretching into grotesque shapes, the faces of the lost swirling around Linda and Jessie, David among them, twisted and silent. Their mouths moved, but no sound came, just silent screams that echoed in Linda's mind, her vision blurred. "No! Stay away! Please!" she cried out, holding her daughter closer, feeling Jessie's heartbeat sink to her own, a reminder that she wasn't alone. Not yet. Face the truth. The shadows howled, and with each pulse of the darkness, Linda felt the weight of countless memories battering her. Vivid recollections of laughter drowned in sorrow, past joys now marred by anguish. There was David's smile. It burned bright like a dying star, leaving her with the darkness of the void it created. Emily, Linda whispered, the name escaping her lips like a ghost floating away. The reaction was immediate and ferocious. The shadows convulsed, a cacophony of cries rising, merging into an overwhelming roar. The figures twisted into forms too nightmarish to comprehend, mouths wide in silent terror, reaching out for her with clawed hands. Stop! It's not my fault! She screamed, voice hoarse, desperation lacing her words. I tried to save them. Did you? The shadows taunted. Did you truly seek salvation, or merely a way to forget? You are the architect of this suffering. The ground split beneath her, fissures opening, exposing a churning abyss that threatened to pull them in. Gripped by fear, Linda felt Jessie's hands slipping from her own. She tightened her grip, nails digging into her daughter's flesh. I want to let go. But the shadows surged, their power inundating the room, a tide of despair crashing over them. The walls began to close in, the light flickering, dimming, as the truth clawed its way to the surface. As the ground quaked, Linda caught a glimpse of a forgotten face among the chaos, a face that mirrored her own, filled with regret and pain. In that moment, clarity broke through. I am ready to face what has been lost and draw strength from it. But as realization crashed upon her, a terrifying laughter erupted, echoing off the crumbling walls. Then come, Linda! Join us. The depth of your truths shall drown you. In that moment, she understood she had unleashed the floodgates of her past. It was a reckoning, a confrontation between her deepest fears and the love she fought to protect. As darkness closed over them, the echoes of past lives and heartaches roared. Would stepping into the shadows grant her the power to save Jessie, or would she fall victim to everything she had feared? With Jessie clinging tightly, Linda felt a renewed fire ignite within her. She had one last chance to reclaim her truth, but at what cost? The shadows awaited. The shadows swirled tighter around them, their unnatural forms shifting like liquid nightmare, dancing with unease. Linda could feel the cold fear wrapping around her throat, but within that grip, she found an ember of resolve. Jessie's fingers, small and fragile, squeezed her hand, a pulse of life against the encroaching black. Mom, Jessie whimpered, her voice lost amid the chaos, but it pulled Linda back. She couldn't let the darkness take her child. Hold on, baby. We're getting out of this, Linda cried, her voice cutting through the cacophony. The laughter hung in the air like a noose, constant and unwavering. The malicious energy surged, seeking to draw her in. Run, the shadow demanded, its voice sinister, cutting like a blade. The truth will destroy you both. No! Linda roared, shaking with anger. I will not run from you. She stepped forward, dragging Jessie with her, too aware of the abyss waiting to swallow them whole. Contorted faces loomed closer, their mouths opening wide in a silent scream. Each one a reminder of her loss. Stop it! You can't scare me with memories! Linda screamed, her heart racing as she felt the warmth of Jessie's body against hers. We've endured this pain. We're stronger than you know. With every word, the shadows writhed uncomfortably, darkness rippling like water. Jessie's breath was shallow, her small body trembling. Linda turned to her daughter, locking eyes with her, searching for reassurance. Jessie met her gaze with innocent defiance. Together, Mom! Just like we said, Jessie urged, her voice rising above the chaos. Together, Linda echoed, but doubt crept in. What if together wasn't enough? As if sensing her hesitation, the shadows surged violently, their growls vibrating through the ground. Linda stumbled but steadied herself, muscles tense with fear. The air crackled, the magic of the dark intruding, a sickening stench of decay washing over them. Relinquish your hope, Linda. You're trapped in this pain. The shadow roared, voices from the dark merging into an angry chorus. Linda shook her head fiercely. I won't surrender to you. I refuse to let you define my truth. The entity screamed in rage, a sound so guttural it sent chills down her spine. The shadows rushed forward like a wave, seeking to consume them. Linda felt Jessie cling tighter, her small hands digging into her mother's coat, her own fear almost palpable. Mom! Stay with me! Linda gripped her daughter, grounding them both in a flicker of light emanating from the cracks. The glow illuminated the faces around them, revealing pain and sorrow stitched with horror, every face a story lost. None of us sought to be forgotten, she murmured, her voice growing steadier. But I won't let your suffering drown me. I will carry you as a reminder, not a chain. With that, she stepped forward through the wall of darkness. It screamed as she did. Jessie's eyes widened. The shadows flailed as if wounded. Linda could feel the heat of her rage pulling her through the mass. Suddenly, the world twisted, a vortex vacuuming them into the heart of despair. It felt like falling, yet Linda fought to stay anchored, to bring her daughter to safety. We're almost there, Jessie! She shouted, unwilling to let the shadow's anguished cries fill her with doubt. I believe in you, Mom! Jessie cried, her voice fierce in its simplicity, ringing clear in the chaos surrounding them. With renewed strength, Linda propelled herself forward, refusing to lose Jessie. They surged into a blinding light, a fissure in the shrouded void, leaving behind the malignant laughter that echoed through the darkness. Then, a sharp pain tore through Linda's heart like a dagger. An icy grip the shadows had not given up. She fell to her knees, clutching Jessie, the light flickering. Don't look back, she urged, haunted by whispers now piercing through their protective cocoon. A familiar voice emerged, soft and full of agony. Linda, don't you want to remember me? The light waned, beginning to swallow them again. Desperation surged within her as she clung desperately to the truth, terrified of what lurked in the darkness back there. What would happen if she embraced the memories? Would it be salvation or destruction? Then, as the voices swelled, a chilling realization settled over her: the fight was far from over. As shadows clawed at her sanity, she felt the heart-stopping question echo in her mind: would the truth set them free, or would it tear them apart forever? With Jessie shaking beside her, Linda propelled herself deeper into the light, the world pulsating around them like a heartbeat, knowing she had to discover the answer. The light burst around them, swallowing the darkness as Linda gasped at the brightness. For a moment, she felt weightless, as if the world had released its death grip. Yet, the shadows were not finished. They writhed and slithered, dark tendrils snaking back toward her and Jessie, angry and relentless. Mom, I'm scared, Jessie whispered, her small voice trembling. Just hold on, Linda shouted, her heart crashing like a drum. They soared within the blinding radiance, but it flickered with every heartbeat, casting flashes of shadow over their faces. Linda fought to keep the light steady, but with every pulse, it waned like a dying star. Don't you want to remember? The voice coiled through her mind again, smooth as silk but laced with poison. Memories she had buried deep began to claw their way to the surface. A childhood filled with laughter, joy, and warmth intertwined with grief, despair, and loss. Faces she had long forgotten surfaced, each with a story of its own, gripping her heart in icy hands. Mom, who's that? Jessie pointed, her little finger trembling as she peered into the recesses of the light. Shadows twisted into familiar outlines, faces ambiguous yet strangely intimate, people lost to time, lost to her. They wore expressions of longing and sorrow, a tapestry of the past unfolded before them. No! Linda screamed, shutting her eyes tight against the memories pushing forward. They can't come back. Not now! The swirling uncertainty churned in her stomach, threatening to consume her. A shadow lunged, echoing a desperate scream, and she immediately felt it brushing against her soul like ice. It clawed at her heart, its fingers reaching for her grief. Mom, please! Jessie cried, her voice laced with panic. The innocent trust in her daughter's eyes was unfurling, shifting to a reflection of their collective terror. I won't let them take you, Linda vowed fiercely, though clarity began to crack. She could see the pain and loss written in the faces that loomed closer. They whispered her name, wrapped their disfigured shadows around her, pleading for acknowledgement. I won't listen. I won't forget. But the struggle drained her, like pulling against an unyielding current. The shadows fed off her fear, their laughter crawling under her skin, resonating with her memories. With each taunt, she felt Jessie's grip loosen as the weight of her choices pressed down harder. Fight. Remember the love! Linda shouted, hoping her words could form a protective barrier. The light shimmered briefly, and for that fleeting second, it felt solid. She remembered her mother's warm laugh, the whispered reassurance of her father, and the embrace of family. Mom? Jessie's voice cracked, tethering Linda to the moment. I'm here. I'm here, Linda affirmed, her resolve rekindling. Not just for them, but for us. She pushed forward. Would the memories save her or break her? The answer shimmered in the light surrounding them, a truth buried yet aching to be revealed. The shadowy chorus quieted, a hesitant pause settling amidst the chaos. As Linda gripped her daughter tighter, eyes burning with determination, the world around them shimmered and began to morph once more. Remember, Linda, you can't escape what is rightfully yours, the sinister voice hissed, an echo of her own doubts. What truth awaited them when the memories broke free? As the blinding light flickered, Linda could feel the grasp of darkness tightening around her resolve. Stay close to me, she shouted, gathering her strength. The light wavered again, and she braced for whatever lay ahead. She had wrestled with shadows before, but this time, the stakes were higher. What if the truth was worse than the shadows themselves? As the light flickered one last time and reality began to crumble around them, Linda prepared for the ultimate confrontation. Would she be brave enough to delve into the deepest corners of her own heart? As the light dimmed, Linda's heart raced, driven by a potent mix of fear and determination. The shadows twisted, eager to drag her back into their embrace, threatening to dissolve everything she fought for. Jessie clung to her side, face pale with terror, eyes wide, unwavering trust shining through the cracks of fear. Together, Linda whispered fiercely, her voice cutting through the shadows like a beacon, "We can do this." With every ounce of strength, she pushed deeper into the remaining light. Memories surged and swirled around them in a cascade of faces and laughter, buried beneath layers of pain. The atmosphere crackled with tension, whispers intertwining with the shadows, beckoning her to surrender, to give in to despair. But no. Not now. Not after everything they had endured. "Jessie, look at me," Linda insisted, forcing her daughter to meet her gaze. "We're going to fight together. I won't let these shadows take you." The weight of her past pressed heavily on her chest. Promises made to the ones she had lost flickered like distant stars, but their light reminded her of the responsibility she had to carry them forward. "Remember the birthdays, the games, all those moments we cherished," Linda urged, searching Jessie's eyes for that strength. "Those are our memories, and they'll protect us." "Mom, I'm ready," Jessie replied, her small voice holding the unwavering belief that echoed in their hearts. And with that, Linda took a deep breath, letting the warmth of their shared love engulf her. She stepped forward, determination solidifying in her bones, blocking out the menacing whispers that clawed at her mind. "David! Lily! Rachel! Emma! I remember you! I see you, all of you!" The moment the names fell from her lips, the shadows recoiled, revealing flashes of the lost souls tied to this place. Faces twisted in anguish and sorrow emerged, shimmering as if caught between worlds. Linda felt Jessie squeeze her hand tighter. "They're here with us, Mom." "Yes, Jessie. They are. And we will honor them." With fierce conviction, she shouted, "You think you can break us? You will not take my daughter! You will not take anyone else!" The shadows writhed, their angry whispers rising to a fever pitch as the darkness tried to consume her words. "You will drown in your own despair!" they roared, and in that moment, the vastness of the gym shuddered, pushing them toward the brink. But Linda felt a sudden surge of clarity rising within her. This isn't just a fight against you, it's a fight for our memories. For love, for hope. She pointed an accusatory finger toward the mass of swirling darkness, mixing anguish with the fire of resolve. I know who you are. With each name she spoke, each memory conjured, she felt the energy of the past filling the space around them, layering against the weight of the malevolence threatening to crush them. You are not my shadows. You are fragments of my heart, pieces of my strength. The powerful pulse of light ignited again, illuminating the gym with a resplendent glow. The shadows writhed as if caught in a tempest, shrieking against the flicker of hope that threatened to unravel them. With every word spoken, their darkness diminished, creeping back like a defeated tide. Emily! Linda shouted, the name echoing with her conviction. Suddenly, she felt the ground shake, the energy inside the gym reacting to the potency of that memory, the love enveloping it bursting forth like a firework. The shadows howled in agony, monstrous forms writhing against the brilliance as if repelled by the light of love and perhaps by the truth of their own existence. You won't forget us. They thundered, but Linda stepped further into the light, arms wrapped tightly around Jessie, guiding them towards safety. Your hold over us is broken now. Memories don't haunt my thoughts, they guide my heart. With a final resonant scream, Linda unleashed the names, each one a lifeline for the lost souls. The light exploded through the gym, blinding and overwhelming, consuming every shadow in its wake. Linda and Jessie embraced, the brilliance drawing them in as they were enveloped in the warmth of freedom. Then, just as quickly as it began, the light dimmed, and in its wake, silence settled like a gentle snowfall. Linda opened her eyes, breathless. They were no longer in the gym. They stood outside the doors of Crestwood Academy, bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The shadows had faded. The air felt lighter, free from the heavy pall of pain. Jessie looked up at her mother, awe glimmering in her eyes. We did it, Mom! Linda knelt down, wrapping her arms around her child, feeling the weight of gratitude and relief washing over her. Yes, we did. Together. The school stood behind them, a stone monument to the darkness they had faced, yet this time its haunting presence felt different. No longer a tomb, but a reminder of the battles fought and won. Linda knew their fight would never truly be over. Shadows of the past would linger, but they would never bear the burden alone. Love would be their legacy. As they turned away from the doors, Linda whispered a silent promise to the lost souls who had guided her. You are remembered, and your stories will live on. I won't forget. Hand in hand, mother and daughter walked into the rising sun, hearts entwined with hope, ready for whatever the future would hold. Now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and give us a boost. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything to us, and only true fans understand the importance of these actions.